talent. I mean, I keep saying this to people. A lot of my friends, like, they used to be really as into wrestling as I was, especially in the UK scene. But I'm talking way back. I'm talking back like 2002, 4, 5, something like that, when the FWA was pretty much it. I'd say, along with All Star, they were like the two most consistent things you had that you were always going to see. Either All Star touring and doing the family shows, and FWA, which was pretty much based in London, like Bethnal Greenway. And that was it. That's kind of all you had. And it's fascinating now where we've got to a point where, like you were saying earlier, off the show, where like you know, you're practically working like every other weekend. Like for us here, like when we were doing the weekend stuff with the press, we kind of had to choose between like 5 every weekend because there's so much going on. And I think just for me, what's changed the most is just the way it's run, a lot more professional. Like there's a lot more professional. Like I used to go to shows and it was awful. You wouldn't even have a ring. And you'd have like a crash mat or something. And then 2 guys that I thought even I could take coming out, and it would be just like the worst kind of experience ever. But that was, I mean, back then that was like the limit of independent wrestling in the UK. You know, that was it. And it's kind of amazing to see how much talent there is in the UK and how many promotions there are. I've never seen it as flooded as it has come like in the last 2 years, I'd say. It's just crazy. Have you, like, because obviously you've started in the midst of all this. I mean, there's 2 ways of looking at it. I guess it's a lot more competitive now to get those bookings and to be a consistent. So, I mean, for you, is that something that you're always like keeping a watchful eye on, like what's current, what are people looking for, what promoters are looking for, and stuff like that?
In a way, yes, because I'm always sort of messaging promoters and saying, "Here's my CV. This is what I've done. You know, get back to me whenever." But also at the same time, it's like I don't really, when it comes to what bookers want, I don't really like relate to that,
right?
In a way, because I'm like, if I'm not what they want, I'm not what they want.
Yeah.
If they want someone that can pull this, and this move out of the bag, that's probably not me, because I've got my set move set.
Right.
That's it. I'll do other things, but I have my set 10 move set. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head. I do know what they are, but my brain's just...
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But I have my set move set. That's what I do in a match, what I want to get in. As long as I can get that in, I'm fine. Anything else you want to do, throw it at me. But if I'm not what a promoter wants, then that's fine at the end of the day. I'm not going to be like, oh, you need to book me. You know, if you don't want to book me, then you don't want to book me. That's fine by me. I'm not going to get butthurt or anything.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. I've seen a lot of times where promoters, especially new promoters, they'll book somebody, and I mean, you either get some people that are very much like, okay, you just get together and come up with something and do it between you, or you get like maybe someone who's a little bit more of a control freak and they really they have a vision in their head, like a movie director almost, which is good and bad at the same time. Telling stories. But I've seen it before where a particular wrestler, like this guy, he was not going to be able to perform or do the things this promoter had in his head, like doing these wacky flips and all this type of stuff. And I was like, what? You can't be asking someone that you don't know because you've never been in the ring to do that. You know, it just makes no sense. And I always like stand back. Like I had like a very brief, I was doing acting for a while, and I went on the set, and this director, he was like, every line I was doing, he was like, could you make it more like Liam Neeson? Could you do the voice? I was like, dude, if you want Liam Neeson, get Liam Neeson. But you've got me. You've chose me. This is what you've got. I'm not going to keep like trying to do the Liam Neeson voice. Forget it. But that, you know, it's funny how people are with that. Now, for you, like, I'm curious to know, because at some point, and goodness knows when now with all this going on, so I'm sure that it's been delayed. I'm sure this will probably take place next year, but I'm going to be putting together like my own show, and I'm going to be promoting it, and I'm always getting in the ear of wrestlers. Like, in your eyes, what is a good example for you in your point of view of a good promoter? Like, what are some of the key things? Because I've seen some really good places, like where the backstage is well kitted out. All the facilities are there. That's one of the things the wrestlers always tell me. I like, get the facilities, get some food, and we're happy a little bit. But like, what are some of the key things for you and qualities in somebody as a promoter and somebody that's taking you on that you look for?
I think that they'll be able to give me free rein to do what I want in the ring, because I've met a few promoters in my 3 years of doing it that will literally tell you what to do in a match.
Right.
I hate that, because they'll give you
like move for move, or just like kind of,
well, not move for move, but they'll give you like a strategy or like
right,
a plan of what they want and how they want the match to go down. And they'll have like people backstage asking you what your match is, and then so that it doesn't clash with anybody else's. And I don't like matches clashing. If somebody's got a move, like I'm the one for asking people what they're doing backstage, just to make sure that my moves aren't the same as somebody else's, but before mine or after mine, because then it's just people get bored of it after it gets repeated 5 times. But I like to be able to plan my match the way I want to plan it with the other people in the match, because then I enjoy it more. Whereas if someone's trying to give you things that they want in the match that you don't know, that you can't put in because it doesn't flow with what you want, then sort of I don't particularly like it. But as long as the promoter can do that, facilities, there's only been one show where there wasn't a changing room, but that was because of the venue. As long as I've got a changing room, even if I have to change in the toilet, as long as there's somewhere where I can change, I don't mind changing in front of the guys. At Phoenix at PWA, I'm the only female there, unless my dad brings females in. So I'm used to changing in front of guys.
Yeah,
I'm not picky. I'm not afraid to flaunt everything. That might sound really weird, but I ain't afraid to get changed.
No, I've seen that before as well. I've seen female wrestlers, and they I think it's the same sort of situation. She was like the only one there, like female, and they just nobody cared. You know what I mean? It was just part of it. You're all the roster, and that was it. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But it's a culture thing as well. Do you know what I mean? I think that comes. Now, just talking about female wrestling in general, because I've had I had Mariah May on recently, and a few others, and we were talking about, and I've had Rhea O'Reilly as well, and we were talking about female wrestling in general, and like some of them, I would say, like some of the stuff we spoke about seems like the same old stuff where there's still this kind of facade about having somebody as eye candy still, and then there's the other side where we want to make it more competitive. You look at Pro Wrestling Eve and stuff like that. Obviously, we've come like way past that, in my opinion. I think even fans, because of the way we've educated them, I think they go there with different expectations now as well. I don't think it's the same, but I don't know. But in your experience, how has being a female wrestler been, and like working in different promotions? Have you come up against anything that's like raised your eyebrows and thought, nah, that ain't happening, or that's a bit sort of old stuff now? We need to be doing doing things as good as the guys and being competitive.
See, I don't like it because I still know quite a few not promoters, not just promoters, but people that still think women's wrestling is just women's wrestling.
Right.
And it's not like, it's like what it was back, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I take women's wrestling very seriously. I don't like it when people say that it's just another, women's wrestling should be equal to men's. In fact, it shouldn't even it shouldn't be categorized as women's wrestling. It should be categorized as wrestling. Yeah. But I didn't come into this as within the women's wrestling. I started off facing guys, so I started off doing mixed gender. Right. That is what I love doing, because I like facing guys, because I'm not exactly the biggest person. I'm not the biggest female in the world. I'm not quite small. I'm average. But a lot of the guys that I was facing were a lot bigger than me. So it gave me a challenge to be able
Right.
to push myself a lot more.
Yep.
And then when I had my first women's match, it was very strange, very, very strange, because I'd never been in the ring with just a one-on-one with a female. I'd been in mixed gender tag matches.
Yep.
But I'd never been one-on-one with just me, another female, and a ref. So it's kind of strange to me. And that was when I won my first title, funnily enough. But yeah, women's wrestling isn't what it was. But at the same time, it still has a lot. It's still got quite far to go before it's like not categorized as women just being eye candy or something.
Yeah, there's still a few cobwebs around that you need to blow away.
Especially in the States.
Yeah. It's an odd dynamic out there because they really go on about, you know, the whole. I mean, especially like the biggest organisation, WWE. Like a year ago, I would say they were so on the bandwagon, and really and truly, if I'm honest, since Ronda Rousey's not been there, it's been an excuse not to really do as much. Now that they've got that out of the way with having the first, and it's kind of a shame. I mean, one of the things with me, especially with this podcast, like my listeners will know, is that do you remember the first Women's Royal Rumble happened, which was, you know, a massive feat. But one of the things that really got on my nerves when I was reviewing that match was the kind of the presentation of it. And every female wrestler that came down, like after the 2 minutes or whatever, every time the commentator would be like, "It's her first one. It's the revolution," and they were talking more about that than they were the actual match. And it's a shame because it's the match is going to make it. I mean, at the end of the day, the match is the match. But everything was about the first ever, and here's another wrestler. She's coming down. This is what she's done to get here, and it's just like, my God. And it really kind of took you out of what it was we're actually watching. You know, I think one of the best matches I ever saw in person that I was fortunate enough to see was I was there at the Bayley Sasha Banks match in I forgot when it was now, NXT Takeover in Brooklyn.
Right, yeah.
And I was there in person. I was like, that's not just. It shouldn't just be the best female match. It was like just the best match. For me that year, I just so enjoyed it because it's, you know, like you was talking about earlier, where watching wrestling, you're seeing the moves before they happen. I think a lot of times that happens to a lot of people. But that is one of the few times where I just got engaged. I mean, I just forgot everything. My hat was off and I was just watching it for what it was, because it just, to me, it was like a fine art where two people just were desperate not to lose. That's how it was coming across. And when you can get sucked in like that, and it's very rare these days just because of what I do and what you see. But I always think that's when you're onto something really good. And talking about things like that, like what are some of the things I guess it might be different from you, so you might be able to tell me something better, but like I hear a lot of wrestlers now and they say it's really difficult to get genuine heat today, like being a heel. It's so difficult, whether it's the whole PC stuff, you've got to live that character 24/7, social media, you've got to use it. But then at the same time, heels today tend, not all, but most tend to also be kind of cool and edgy. How do you look at that? Like, how is that, like, because you're quite new, I don't know if you see it the same way, but do you have to be a little bit more creative now, do you feel?
I'm not really sure, because with me, I'm not that I have to stay in character 24/7. Yeah, I'll stay in character when it comes to in the ring, after the show, and whatnot. But on social media, it's just me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like my character, whether I like it or not, is me.
Yeah.
When I want to be cocky, I'll be cocky, and that'll be me. When I'm nice, I'm nice. But it's just me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing getting heat, like a show that I was at, especially seeing as I'm a heel at this show. I got quite a bit of heat at the last one. It is very difficult to get good heat unless you do something that the crowd really don't like.
Sure.
On a certain person that is a crowd favourite as a member of the crowd. Unless you do that to a member of the crowd that they all love. Or a member of the roster that is like the top favorite. That's when you get the true